We are starting off the month with some volatility in the markets. Crypto taking a little bit of a dump, hitting some key support levels. TradFi, not sure what it wants to do right now. Big tech is taking a hit today. We'll be discussing all of that, the month ahead, and more today on Money Never Sleeps. Welcome back to Money Never Sleeps. I'm JWeb. That's Kevin. Nothing that we say on this show is financial advice, okay? I want to get that out of the way. We're not financial advisors. Do your own research before making any buys or sells. More importantly, hit that button down below. Give us a like, a subscribe, jump into the comment section, share us out on social media, all of that good stuff. Kev, you were telling us to survive August. Now we're going to have to survive September as well. This is a time where historically we have seen rough months in TradFi, in crypto, and we are off to that same start this week. Bitcoin under 25.5K, ETH at 1606 right now. We see Solana getting close to being at $19. Total crypto market cap is almost under $1 trillion. Meanwhile, on the TradFi front, NASDAQ is down on the day. Dow and S&P are slightly up. We see the dollar has moved back over 104 after this morning's data. We'll talk about that in a second. Simultaneously, the VIX is just hovering above 13. So just like so much, it doesn't make any sense sometimes. And we got a lot of conflicting messages here. What are you looking at as we begin a crucial month in the markets?
Yeah, I think yesterday, I thought that August was going to end on kind of like some type of stupid scam, very similar to the one we saw the day prior, or something like that. Just saw a lot of positions that could have been liquidated. However, that was invalidated when we retraced the entire move. I'm looking at, price action post the BTC ETF rejections, right? Definitely the market has reacted negatively to that, whether that's institutions that, sold the top of that buy the rumor, sell the news event. Seems like that's what they did. But yeah, crypto, I think, is the number one thing I'm keeping an eye on. I'm keeping an eye on oil as well, because that's going to play a huge factor, in my opinion, going into the next few months, and also the Fed's decision, maybe for November as well. But right now, this is a very critical point. Taking the month as it comes. This is definitely a little bit faster, more accelerated of a start to September than I was anticipating.
Absolutely. You hit on oil for a second there. I think that's a big one. We're seeing oil at its highest level since late last year, I believe. That ain't nothing, and that could absolutely impact rate of inflation. Yeah, November of last year was the last time that oil was at this price. This is coming up on 4 months in a row that oil is in the green. Will absolutely hit inflation moving forward, like it has to. And we talked about it yesterday with the PCE number. Like, strip out core, but guess what? That headline number is still going to look bad because of the price of oil. So we are not out of the woods yet, compared, as opposed to what some other people out there might be telling you. Let's really quickly recap today's data. It was jobs day over in the Bureau of Labor Statistics. There we had 187,000 jobs added, 170K expected, 157K the previous month. Unemployment rate went up to 3.8% versus a 3.5% expected and 3.5 in the previous month. This was, also good for the Fed, as was the hourly wage growth, 0.2% month over month versus 0.3% expected and 0.4% in the previous month. So we got some data that, the Fed will look at and be happy about. The probability of a Fed rate skip in September is now up to 93%. I think that's pretty much a near certainty at this point. If we look ahead to the November meeting, it's now a 59% chance that they'll also be done there. So there's a decent chance that the Fed is done raising rates this year. I know that, Kev, you don't believe a lot of the numbers, but I have no reason to think that, like, if you're looking from a political standpoint, why would they lie about the unemployment rate? That's not a good thing for the Biden administration. Same for hourly wages, people not making as much money. So I tend to believe numbers like this. And I have to imagine the Fed does too, and that gives them a little more, a little happier that they could be seeing this soft little landing coming in.
Yeah, I think the numbers today are for sure paint a better representation of, I think, the labor market. Again, we saw the June revisions, right? Of some of those jobs added is nearly half. So I can't remember the exact numbers, but it was came in revised for the second time at like 108,000 jobs. That's I mean, that's half of what they first announced back in June. We have to keep in mind that, these numbers that we react to right away aren't necessarily the ones that are set in stone. We get the revisions, but nobody cares about the revisions, right? Usually it's too late. The market's already reacted. So that's one thing I do want to bring up. That's a very important piece of this puzzle. That's why I don't necessarily believe a lot of this data. I do believe that this is 3.8% inflation. Now, again, the thing with
You know,
this that unemployment, my bad. So many
all
numbers.
good.
But yeah, it's the thing that I think that's most important is this why I probably said inflation is inflation is ticking back up. We saw that sticky PCE, we saw another sticky CPI, and we got CPI coming up pretty soon for the month of August. And we're seeing that unemployment's going up. Now, that's not a good recipe. I don't care what anyone says. This is honestly seems like something is going to give in a bad way because if inflation continues to go up, but we start to see, unemployment also go up, that's counterintuitive what the Fed wants, right? They want inflation to go down and unemployment to go up. So this isn't necessarily something that I'm, not excited to see, but think is going to end well. I have to see what the next unemployment reading is. Also, we need to see how the CPI comes in. But again, like we were talking about oil being, a huge driver of, bringing the price of inflation or the percentage of inflation up, it's probably going to be problematic. And I don't care if it's an election year or not. I think that we were getting to a point where if the collapse is going to happen and they know it's going to happen, they might just let it happen and then blame something. Drive away the attention from the main focus of what actually caused this, like the actual statistics and policies that put us in this situation, as opposed to you know maybe just finding someone to blame. What was it from The Big Short? They blame poor people or something like that. In the
Yeah.
end,
Yep. It
always
always rolls
it'll be something
downhill.
like that.
The shit
Yeah.
always rolls downhill. CPI comes out September 13th. It'll be a week before the next FOMC. So they'll have some time to digest that. We should pretty much have it locked in, because that's the last big piece of news that's going to come out before FOMC. So we'll have it locked in. There'll be no surprises there. We'll also get a better indication of what's going to happen November 1st, because there's only going to be a few more pieces of data before that meeting. Next week, I'm looking ahead. It's a pretty light week. We have Labor Day on Monday, so markets are going to be closed. Tuesday, not a whole lot. Get a little bit, we'll get the Fed beige book in the middle of next week. That gives us a more in-depth view of what the Fed presidents are thinking, around the country. But nothing huge from a data standpoint. It's a pretty ho-hum week. There's no, earnings are done. Not a whole lot of reports next week. So I think it's going to be a very macro and technically driven week. News is going to move the markets. Technical levels are going to move the markets, but no data, no earnings. So I'm fascinated to see how that works out. We can kind of get into some different topics next week too. I want to do a show about India, because I think the problems in China is opening the door for India to step into the position of the second largest economy globally. I want to see that. I want to go back to Brazil a little bit too. They had a better than expected GDP number. I mean, it's still a reasonable GDP. It was like under 1%, but it came in under above expectation. So they're doing some things right down there in Brazil. So I think we, spend a little time next week going globally, looking for some opportunities there. But for today, like I mentioned at the top, we have some key levels that we're looking at for Bitcoin and ETH and BNB. Where do you want to start on these? It feels like we can. I don't know if you want to start on the dollar. It's having a good day. I don't know if you want to start on Bitcoin. You tell me.
Yeah, I'll just do the dollar really quick. It's nothing we have to get into too much. We'll go in the total market cap as well, but start with the dollar. Uh, Again, this is a bull flag right here. This is what we've been saying for a long time. It's finally above this parallel channel. We got to get a week close above it. If we get a week close above it, that's a really good sign. And again, the daily stochastic RSI is fairly oversold, but this can stay overbought for a period of time, right? Look at this back here. Stayed oversold all the way through January, February of what is that? November to February of 2022 into 2023. So keep in mind that's a good sign. Even though this is showing it's down from the week, as long as we close above this parallel channel, that's a good sign. Daily is probably going to correct significantly to the point where it's completely oversold. And
Monthly has been oversold for almost the entire year.
exactly, and that's what gives me and you can see that it's starting to climb too down here. But it's a pretty good sign that the dollar isn't given up yet. I wouldn't given up given I have not given up on the dollar, and I think there's a lot of technical you know we just look at the technicals and it just looks pretty strong. I mean, we can even say this is bottoming out right here, right? But 105.651 is the target we're gonna have to keep an eye on. If we do start to if we close this week above that parallel channel, that's a great sign. Be the first time that we close, I believe, above the parallel channel. Yeah, we have not closed above it since November of 2022. Yeah, so getting a close above this is amazing. That shows that this is going to be support. Now we look for resistance, which is up higher. So not going to be good for stocks, not going to be good for crypto. Dollar's going to be fairly strong. And until we start to see the Fed cut rates, I think the dollar is going to remain strong. That's just my opinion. Again, people are going to be afraid. The dollar just is going to be a safe space for people that want to get out of the volatility of the market, and that's probably going to be pretty volatile going into October. Just my opinion, not financial advice. So let's see how strong the dollar remains. It's above 104. I think it looks pretty good from here. Let's get into Bitcoin because Bitcoin is absolutely selling off like crazy. Absolutely retraced. Like look at this weekly candle, right? It went all the way up here at 2146, and now it is almost below the key level of support. And that's where I want to see it close this weekend below. It's at 25,284. I mean, we were very close to crossing it today, right? I mean, the low right now is literally the low as we're watching this in real time. It's 25,350, 346 right now. So we're going to have to keep an eye on this. I think that we are going to be closing below this, and that would be pretty bearish because we could see that this has been support once, resistance here, resistance here. So I think that if we finally do test this, and we've tested this multiple times, you just can't see it on the weekly. I mean, on the weekly, yeah, you can look on the daily. You can see like, okay, we tested here, tested it here, tested it here, tested it here, a few times here. So this is a huge level of support. We break under that, it's not going to be it's not great, guys. Take a shot, take a drink. But this is just a key level of support. We have to keep an eye on this. I think that's below this. Our next level is 23,629. This green line right here. I'm gonna make this a little bit bigger for everyone. That is the next level of support. And again, if we want to get crazy, because I love to get crazy, and we talk about these Elliott wave patterns. 5-wave move to the downside right here, up here, wave 3, wave 4, wave 5, and that would bring us to the first wave done of this 5-wave move to the downside here. Then we'd look for a bit of a recovery. Again, but the one thing I've been saying that's going to be really important is a lot of these recoveries are going to be short-lived. So sure, we might, put in 23.6 here. And if, the month kind of cools down, the markets aren't, nothing crazy happens, no one capitulates yet, it's likely that we're going to, put in a 3-wave correction, test maybe that 25.28 again. And then if we get rejected, which I anticipate we probably would, then it's going to be going down to closer to 20,000. That would just be the way the structure works. But the bad thing is if we do get down to 20,000, or we only go up to, say, this wave 2 of this macro one only goes to this 25.28 and gets rejected. Wave 3 is the most violent. So this is probably going to be a pretty good move to the downside. I probably could go sub 20, just saying. Again, I'm thinking macro here, not it's not going to happen like next week or the next 2 days or something like that. This is something like by October, November, we might be seeing. And I think the end of the bear market probably ends with that wave 5, which possibly is just that 50% drop that we were anticipating. Remember how we saw that in November 2018 into December of 2018? I could see that getting us below that 10K level, at least a wick down there. But that's what I'm seeing right now. This is, a big picture here. Keep an eye. There is going to be some type of event that drives us down from this high level
chaos. The chaos if it wicks down to 10K, like it is going to be madness. People are going to be losing their minds. The victory laps on Bloomberg and CNBC from the anti-crypto people are going to be out of control. It is, man, that would be something to behold for sure.
Yeah, imagine getting a fucking fat bag down there too, right? Look, I'm bullish on Bitcoin long term, right? I'm not messing around with this shit because I think it's going to go down forever. No, I generally just want to get into a better price entry, and I don't think anyone is anticipating the worst case scenario. That's a dangerous thing. If we don't account for things that could potentially happen. Again, that's why I was very cautious yesterday that there could have been another scam pump, because I think a lot of people are putting in shorts here. See the prices coming down. It's very lucrative right now to enter a short, isn't it? You see that the value is going down. They're not going to get another ETF decision for some time. It's really easy to enter a short, and I'm seeing shorts pile up. So again, just be careful. There's still liquidity hunters out there, even if this thing looks like it's breaking, but it looks like crypto for the most part is taking the first leg down as opposed to the stock market, and Bitcoin is going to be the main driver. But there could be other things that bring Bitcoin down even further. So we'll talk about that when we get to BNB. But I want to take a look at Ethereum first, right? ETH is very ETH's been strong as shit this entire bear market. I will say that, right? It's been resilient. We've seen how this thing is pretty much just wouldn't go down. It shot up to like 21,000 at one point at the height. Close enough. I added a zero. You can tell I worked late last night.
If Ethereum goes up to 21,000 in the next bull market, I am going to be a happy camper.
I think I need to bring back the cocaine bear. I stay awake all night. But right now we can see that ETH, it did hit 2,100 in this bear market, and I was like, fuck. Because again, this is one that's been extremely strong, right? And the structures have been so weird, and it took forever for it to get to overbought. But now we've seen that there's some weakness in ETH. And again, I was talking about it up here, and it did break from it. And then we saw Evergrande just shut it all the way down. I mean, that was $200 per coin that went down in a matter of less than 10 minutes. It was absolutely insane. So we could see that we were in the structure here. We got our death cross, right? We had a bit of a pump going into the death cross. You don't even need that level anymore. That level's not even important. But we can see that, we got the death cross in the daily, which means it should be going down, or there is more bearish sentiment. And again, we can't get a close above this. We've been rejected off of this, here. We broke above back here, but I mean, we didn't even reach it at this point. So that just tells me that with Bitcoin dominance, even though it's not as high as it once was, but sentiment in general, it just seems like, okay, it seems like the move for ETH is down. And the question is, where is it likely to go? And it's probably going to end up somewhere in the mid 1500s, right? And the reason I'm saying that first is because we got to, I think, retest this Evergrande level of 1543. Whether that holds or not, that remains to be seen. I don't think it will hold, but I'll just put this here. We'll do that as a white line. Let's get rid of this one here. Keep that one there. And then this one down here at 1463, that's my main level that I think ETH is going to go to. So I think it's going to, hit here, and then we're going to have to see how the structure plays out regardless. But I think that the ETH high has been put in. I think that's, that's not up for debate. I think that was put in back here. Now we have to keep in mind that maybe we're just going down for the C wave correction, right? And I think that ETH is going to go sub $1,000. My target has been like $636 since the beginning of time. But right now, I think that we are definitely in a trend to the downside. We are going to get corrections, yes. But we got to see how these levels of support hold, because ETH has been strong. We can't deny that. So let's see the weekly real quick for ETH, because I believe that also is in a
Kevin's the last person who thinks that ETH is going to go sub 1K.
Am I?
I think so.
Yeah. Well, guess more ETH for me. But
hey, listen, I'm not against the idea. Like I'll have your back here. You've been very, very right on a lot of the movements. So I'll keep riding with you there.
Hey man, I just again, I don't even care if I'm right at this point, as long as we can make a lot of money on the way. Again, not financial advice whatsoever, but looking at this right here, 50 and 200 EMA right there. If we start closing below this 200 EMA for ETH, which we are below currently, that's a bearish state of play. And again, that 50 is going to start following. We have a massive gap in between here on the weekly. Wouldn't be surprised if we do get a weekly death cross sometime, or once we hit this 1463. I think once we hit that 1463, this is going to be in a position where the moving averages are going to be acting as resistance. So even if we do get a bit of a bounce, I think those are going to get sent right back down. And then eventually we are going to get our weekly death cross. If we get our weekly death cross, I think that's going to put us in a great position to see sub $1,000 ETH. Not saying it's going to do that, but that's just my opinion looking at, technical analysis and seeing where it bottomed back in, June of 2022. Bottomed at $877. Got a strong wick off of that. I think that the momentum of it coming down to this point, people might think there's going to be a double bottom, but I think there is going to be wicks below that, just so that you can get a true ABC correction, not just a flat correction. Because if we did get a flat correction, this B wave probably would have been a lot fucking higher, and it probably would have been at the origin of this A wave. So from here, you would expect, if there's a flat correction, you would expect something like that. Price would have been all the way up here, and then it would have came all the way back down here to get a double bottom. I don't necessarily see that being the case. I think we are going to go a little bit lower, and 677 or 636. There's a lot of support there. We can see it building right around this level. So we got some pretty good weekly support back in the day, and then even back here, we found that it was resistance then support. So we're gonna keep an eye on ETH. Mid
The
15s.
stochastic RSI across most time frames is also pretty indicative that we're going to see movement to the downside. Like the weekly is the only thing that's oversold, but it
Yeah,
just got to the oversold territory and it could
exactly.
stay there for quite a while. Daily and monthly are both like they aren't in the overbought area, but they're still pretty high and they're just now starting to point toward the direction of going to oversold. So we got a lot of momentum to the downside here. And once again, hey, congratulations, day one of student loans interest reaccruing. So, don't think that's good for risk assets in the coming months.
No, pay up, bitches. That's what Bidenomics said today on TV. But yeah, this is gonna be fun if you start to see some of these levels, right? Because I think it's just gonna offer great generational opportunity. And again, these events, like what happened in 2008, what happened in 2000, what we think could happen, this time around, they don't happen often, right? This is like a mega opportunity where you can get in at some extremely low levels and then see like a decade of just pretty much up only. I'm not saying it's going to go up only forever, but we've seen the stock market from 2010 to 2021, absolutely insane how much everything's grown. So with crypto, again, I think as mass adoption does happen, we are going to see a lot of great gains from some of these lows, but we got to get here first, right? We got to
Imagine being able to buy Bitcoin at 15K when, a year from now or 2 years from now, your friends are asking you if they should be buying it at 50. Like,
yeah,
not a bad spot to be in.
no, absolutely. It's again, you just gotta sometimes you gotta bite the bullet. Everyone thinks that they know what they're talking about.
Patience. Patience.
I think most people in this space that are giving you price predictions with Bitcoin ETFs and stuff like that have two brain cells and they're both fighting for third place. And right now, this is a time where you have to kind of believe in yourself and see what the charts are doing, and just understand that if it looks bad, possibly it is because it's bad. You can't operate on just hope and wishing that everything will be okay. I think there's a lot working against you in that favor if you're going to be taking that stance. But that's ETH in a nutshell. We have to look at BNB, and there's a reason why he's on the cover of today's thumbnail, and that's because I think that if we are going to get a capitulation event in crypto, it's likely to be from this guy right here. I didn't get a chance to finish listening to his whole Twitter Spaces this morning, but pretty much it was him just denouncing FUD. No actual evidence or anything like that saying why people are wrong. They're just
He
like,
also had the comment section turned off, so no one could say anything.
well, he's got the comment section turned off for anyone who he
I
doesn't
love
follow
that.
too.
Yeah.
It's and a
Nice
great
little echo chamber he's built there.
it's again, I'm not gonna fucking shit on the guy, even though everyone I think knows how I feel about it, and it doesn't take a rocket scientist to realize some of the stuff that's been done with Binance on chain. Even some of the admissions, he said that we've never commingled funds, but there's a report from Post FTX back in January of this year says that they had funds swapped between accounts of Binance and Binance.us. I think that's commingling, but whatever. I'm not a FUD expert. So we're gonna take a look at Binance right here, and actually I'm gonna pull up the other chart. This is the one that I want to look at because it's cleaner and it just gives you a better idea of what's going on here. So I talked about the top of this blue box being extreme level of support, right? We hit it here, support. We've broke into it. We broke back out of it, right? Support once again, support here, and then we get to the land before time. Oh, actually, we can even do this here. Look at that, support. It's the land before time, back when Binance had no support on the way up. However, it just shot up forever, probably because we're in a bull market and that's extremely manipulated. Now, we have to think about Binance in a few things. One, nothing can hold this support forever. It's going to retest. It's going to become resistance at some point. I think we are at a critical level. I said that on Twitter and even the other day that closing below 212 on the monthly is going to be a key level. We didn't get to close below 212, but here we are today, the next day, and it's trading below that, and we are within this blue range. So if we can't break up out of this, I think that we still have to finish our wave 5, which means that we got to go lower than 203. Then guess this pretty much puts us in a place of whether if this is going to survive if it gets below there, right? We have a pretty good level of support around 184, which is down here. Pull down the other chart. Let's see if I can get it. I don't even have it on there, but we can see that it wicked down here back in June of 2022. It's 183.8, 184, just call it that. And I think that's going to offer a level of support. Now, the question is, does it bounce from there in a strong way, or does it just absolutely lose that? And then, next level of support somewhere down here by like $40, $45. I don't know, but it seems like this is the one that could go fast, and I think a lot of people are starting to short. I looked at CoinGlass today, and I saw how many people had open short positions, and there's a ton of liquidity sitting above all the way up to about 230 to 230 for the price. I wouldn't be surprised if some type of scam pump liquidates them real quick, makes as much money as possible. But we have to also question Binance in relation to the rest of this market too, right? So the market cap has been it's $32.5 billion right now, and for some reason, I just don't necessarily believe why this market cap has held up it's been so resilient this entire market. Looking across here, if I pull up KuCoin's market cap, and again, I know KuCoin's not nearly as big as Binance. Obviously, I don't even have. Do they even have market cap?
It may not.
They may not now. It's all right, but we see the price at 211 right now, and it's pretty much held above that 183 level for the longest. But if we look at KuCoin's price action, we can see how much it's absolutely bled just in the same amount of time, right? From July all the way down to where we are today. It's that's terrible. It's arguably 48% drop since Binance, I feel, has more regulatory concerns where they're not able to operate in certain markets. And you have to question, it's like, why is this still valued at this level? A lot of it is launch pools. They're locking up BNB. There's also, they own a good portion of it. So, maybe they're just holding up the price because they are still some of the biggest holders of this token. But if it gets to a point where, we know the SEC, there's possibly a DOJ investigation going on too. If something bad would come out there and they have to potentially sell off some of those tokens, I mean, we could see a death spiral. And this isn't just bad for Binance, this is bad for Bitcoin in general. Or even if Bitcoin goes low enough to the point where, some of those collateralized loans, go insolvent, they get liquidated, this could just cause a death spiral where everyone's just trying to sell nonstop. So I do think that there's going to be two capitulation events. I think there's going to be one in the stock market, and I think there's going to be one in crypto. I expect one in crypto first before the stock market. And I guess I'm placing my bets on that this is going to be one of the more significant ones that potentially could be the reason why we dropped to some of those lower levels. But we just have to keep an eye on it. I think that, we still got to finish this wave 5 here, and we got this perfect correction here for wave 4. We got wave 5 here. So I believe that we might even go below $184. I don't know where it ends up after that because there's no level of support. Maybe we get a quick bounce, but I think that with the structure given right now and how we haven't found a bit of a recovery, and it's only been 2-3 days since it went all the way up to that level with the Grayscale lawsuit, it's a good chance that we see a bit of a correction. Then wave 3, like I said, wave 3 is very violent. So that could bring us, through that 203 level down to maybe even 184. Worst case scenario, right? But that's the reason why he's on the thumbnail. We need to keep in mind that I don't care how big of a market share they are. Again, we've seen big players go down before, and I'm not just talking about in crypto. We've seen it in finance. We saw Lehman Brothers. We saw Washington Mutual. We've seen Terra Luna. We've seen FTX. These things happen, guys. So don't worship anyone. No false idols. He doesn't give two shits about you. It's just the truth.
That is for sure. I think that is a good place to wrap it up today as we close out another week. We'll be back next week. No, markets are closed on Monday. Unsure if we're going to do a show or not. We'll let everybody know on Twitter. Hit the reminders on YouTube as well so you get that notification when a show is scheduled. But that's going to do it for today. Appreciate everybody for watching. Down below, once again, if you have not yet, like, comment, subscribe, share on social media, all of that jazz. We appreciate it. Have a great weekend, everybody. Stay safe out there. Have some fun. Touch some grass. We love you guys, and we'll see you next time.
Take care, everyone.